All right, so topic of today's video is that she's attached to your purpose. And so this would be a really good video because I feel like this is something that we all know. Like, we know this, but it's like we try to ignore it. Like, we try to overlook it, especially like when we're actively in it. We try to overlook it, or we just need to be reminded of it, right? But yeah, I have a few notes right here that I have. She's attached to your purpose, and this is how you know that she's the one. And I go on to write, on the course that God has you on, he is building you up perfectly to become one with your wife. So all of the tribulations that you go through, your seasons of isolations, your ups, your downs, your blessings, like everything, when God is kind of like using that moment to strip you away from your lust and your pride and your ego. He's stripping you away from like masturbation, sexual immorality. He's building integrity. He's doing so much for you in that time to build you up for that. Not only for your wife, but for the plan, his purpose, and his will, right? And it's when we stray off this path and start to lean on our own understanding when we mess up God's plan. So when we try to take things into our own hands, and instead of God's knowledge, instead of God's purpose and plans for our life, we lean on man's knowledge. We lean on what we know and think that we know better than God. Like I used to think at one point in my life, I was like, man, if I just have an apartment, a good job, and a girlfriend, then that's all I need in life. I don't really need nothing else. And I used to chase that. I used to idle that over my relationship with God. Like, that came first, and then God came second. And so personally, I hated the feeling of being alone. I hated the feeling and like the thought of being alone, right? And so I kind of like, in that time with me like being scared of being alone and scared of just the feeling of being alone, already going through so much, like I would try to hold women over God. I would idle women over God. I would pit that, my own values and things that I wanted, over God, right? One thing I really wanted was a really good love life, a really successful relationship. And I used to always put that first. I used to focus on that first, more than anything else. More than the money, more than anything, more than the job, more than my career, more than my purpose, more than God, the relationship. That's all. I was like, I do that first, and then I do this, and then I do this, and then I thought I had it all planned. What I was doing was, I was separating myself from my actual ordained purpose, from my actual life, from the actual things that God really had wanted for me, right? It is important that we stay patient and trust in God's plan, and be careful to not idle women over God, because that is what you're doing every time you take matters into your own hands. Every time you think that you know which woman is better for you and not God, right? So this could be like you go on a dating app, or it's someone that like I can't even, like, you just go outside and try to pursue a woman or something, which it's not always like that. But 9 times out of 10, like I feel like you'll know like when it's not ordained from God. Like, it'll be something like she's pulling you away from God, right? You'll know when if she's not the one, because she'll be pulling you away from God unconsciously. Like, you'll be consumed with this woman, like every single second of your day, FaceTiming her all day, all night with her or something, or always going on dates with her or something. You only have time for her. You guys don't have no time to pray. You guys don't have no time to be anything. It's not you guys aren't unified. She's draining you. That's what the whole relationship is about. Like, you're like boosting her ego. You just feeding her, like, I don't really have the words for it, but it's like you're giving her life and she's pulling life out of you. And so it's so important that we stay patient and we do what God wants and not what we want. You know when it's not from God, when she's not attached to your purpose. Instead, she will try to pull you away from God unconsciously. So you'll basically know if this person is meant for you if you guys uphold God together, right? So if it is from God, your purpose will align, and she will help you get closer to God through your purpose and help you step into that purpose. Like, she will be your helper. Like, you'll be so focused on your purpose, so focused on God, not only putting God first, but just God only. Like, wake up, pray, wake up, everything. Just God is just with you at all times. You'll be so focused on what God wants for you, so focused on just God and your purpose and all that you won't even be expecting her. You're not even gonna be ready. You're gonna be like, man, I gotta focus on God. Just told me to do this. I can't focus on you. And like, but you'll know though when you see her and all that. And she'll help you. She'll push you towards your God-given assignment. Actually, so my phone ran out of storage, so luckily I fixed it. But But yeah, I was saying that she would help you. She would help push you towards your purpose. And not only that, the two of you will be putting God first together, like unified as one. Two of you will become one, and you will put God before anything together. Not only putting him first, but it'll only be God, right? And so, like, every value that you guys would probably hold, sex, your relationship, and marriage, and immorality, and the worldly things, you guys together will put God above all of those things, right? And so I go on and say, instead of pulling you away from God, the two of you will be in one accord and put God before anything else together. You both will put God first before your marriage, sex, and all worldly things. So, disclaimer, this does not mean like idle your purpose. Like, oh, if that's the case, then let me hurry up and try to get on my purpose, and so I can hurry up and find my wife, right? And run into my wife because she's attached to my purpose, right? This doesn't mean necessarily to do that, because you can rush. If you try to rush it, it could get outside of what God's. It's a time and place for everything. God has everything for a specific time. So you can actually mess up what God has for you by trying to idle your purpose or trying to idle this woman. Be careful not to do that. That's something that I did that has set me back. It should, for you right now, it's like Adam in the garden. There's a flying room. It should be like Adam when he was in the Garden of Eden. You should be so focused on what God has for you that you're not even thinking about that. You're not even. It's only God. And as you follow God, you'll find he'll give you your purpose. He'll put you on that path of your purpose and build you up and give you everything that you need to prepare you. Like, everything that God has for us is planned. Like, you don't think that God hasn't ordained this woman for you since the day you were born. Before you was even born, he ordained this woman for you. And I know that in this generation it's so hard because we got so many Jezebels and we got so many things that we see today where it's super discouraging just to think that there's a P31 woman out here, but it is. Like, if you read P31, it was like a woman like that is rare to find. And so I feel like a lot of us, like, Christian men or servants of God, ambassadors of Christ, we should normalize this more instead of normalizing like what we see in our generation, like how we see so many, like, y'all know what we see, like all this sexy red and ice spice and just crazy stuff, man. We should normalize this more than what we see out there. And so we can't be like, we got to be strong men, seeing retention. We got to be working towards our purpose and no excuses. Like, it's going to be hard, seasons of isolation and just being a young man in general. It's going to be so many trials and tribulations that we go through, but it's all working towards a purpose. And so, yeah, be obedient to God. That'll be the end of today's video. She's attached to your purpose. And until next time, peace.